it's Amanda from Story and Stone. I hope you are well today. This is the weekly reading for Monday the 22nd of September to Sunday the 28th of September. Lordy Lord, it is moving very, very quickly. We are nearly through this very, very intense month. I don't know about you, but I have had some very intense feelings, some very intense epiphanies about what's going on in my life, and choices to make. That's been very pertinent for me this month, about making a choice to keep doing the traditional thing that's expected of me, or to keep trying to go on my own path. A bit of housekeeping before I start, because otherwise I forget. First of all, new do. This is the messy look. Although my front of my hair doesn't want to play nice today, but anyway, that's life. Most importantly, this is a reading for the collective, so if you do not have anything that resonates with you, that's okay. Just go on about your week. Take what does resonate with you and go with that. The cards I'm using today are the Illustrated Herbiary, the Illustrated Crystallary, and the Illustrated Bestiary, all by Maia Toll. We are doing a classic weekly spread of 8 cards, 7 cards for each day of the week and 1 card as an overall theme. However, when I was shuffling today, one other card did flicker, and I got a little bit of a pressure in my head, meaning keep this out because it will become pertinent to us later on in the reading. So we'll also have a 9th card today. I do offer personal readings. However, I will never ever approach you and ask you if you want a reading. So if you get approached by someone who offers you a reading, please do not give them any money. Just report and block them, because they are a scam. Okay, let's get on with it. Okay, so for Monday, we have got the Screech Owl, Get Creative. Okay, now I think we've discussed this card before sometime in the past about getting creative, because I know there are a lot of people out there going, I don't have a creative bone in my body, blah, 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 blah. And so many people, like if I'm doing readings and I say, oh, what's the creative thing you do? Oh, nothing, I'm not creative. And then you find out that, oh, actually, they help organise kids' parties, or they like to photograph, or they love cooking, or making music. They go to a drumming session and all that sort of stuff. So many of us think that we're not creative when we actually are, because we often think of, as soon as someone says, oh, you've got to be creative, we often think of artists and musicians and dancers and, actors and things like that, the very traditional creative arts. But actually, there are lots of ways that you can be creative that wouldn't necessarily be seen by the mainstream as creative, such as cooking. I mean, if you've ever watched MasterChef, you will see some of these magnificent creations, especially the desserts that they make. They are just absolutely beyond beautiful. So on Monday, I want you to think about what you do in your life that is creative. As co-creators with the goddess, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, we co-create every day. We are creative beings, right? We can't get away from that. No matter what you say, you are a creative being, because we create the situations around us just by what we think about and then the actions that we take from those thoughts. And they're stressing to me, it's very important that it is actually the actions that we take that create our universe, basically, or our universe around us. So on Monday, I want you to think about what you do that creates the life that you have, but also what can you do to be more creative? Because the more creative we are, the more likely we are to get a better handle on creating the things in our lives that we want. So we really need to dig deep and think about, what do I do that's creative? Like, do you embroider or cross stitch? Do you paint or photograph? Do you go dancing once a week? Do you write short stories or a blog, or just write little things about yourself? Do you journal? All of these things can be really creative, cooking, gardening, designing a landscape. What else? Singing, writing music, learning an instrument. All of these things are creative pursuits, plus many, many more that I can't think of at the moment. So I want you to look deeper into what you do in your life that is creative, and add a bit more of that to your life this week, because it helps you then get better at creating the life that you want. Okay, so Tuesday, we've had this little guy quite a few times, the sea turtle. Find your element. Okay, so what do you want to tell us today? Okay, as soon as I hear the word element, because I'm all woo-woo, the first thing I think about is air, fire, water, earth, ether, basically. But today, this week, this card is not about that. It's not finding the environment where you shine. This is more about this is connecting. I can see an energetic line between Monday card and the Tuesday card, and it's more about finding your element. So, when someone's doing something that they really love, and someone will say, oh, they're definitely in their element, that's what I want you to find. That thing that makes you buzz, that makes you shine, that makes you zing. That's what this is about, and it's so connected to what we do creatively. They want us to find where we are in our element in life. What part of our life do we absolutely zing, like our vibration just goes off the chart because we are so aligned with that activity? That's what you need to do for this Tuesday. You need to find where your element is. You need to find where you are in your element, where you're most creative, where you're at your most joyful. You need to think about where in your life if you're doing that. And if you can't think of anything, you need to go back to your childhood and think about, what did I used to love doing as a child, where I could lose hours and hours because I was just so engrossed in this activity. And then you need to bring that forward into your adulthood now, no matter where you are in that adulthood, and start bringing more of that into your life. Okay, for Wednesday, we have hematite, anchor in. These cards, they just amaze me and how beautiful they are. This artist, she's absolutely amazing. She's definitely in her element, painting and drawing and being creative like that, isn't she? Okay, hematite is it's classed as you often see it in crystal shops, but it's not actually a crystal. It's actually a metal. So if you wear a hematite ring, remember that if it gets wet and sweaty in that and you don't clean it, it will rust away eventually and break. That's usually why they're so cheap, because they don't last very long. But hematite is very grounding. It's also, the black hematite is very protective as well. And this card is really talking about anchoring in all the things that you've learned from Monday and Tuesday. So really grounding that into your routine, grounding that into your lifestyle, bringing those things back. They're not a thing to do just sometimes when you have the time, because you know that you will never find the time to do them. These are things that must be put into your planner. Schedule time for it every week or every day, depending on what it is. You really need to anchor it into your life. The benefits will well outweigh the little bit of work you have to do to make sure that you're fitting this thing into your life. So you really need to anchor those creative things, those things where you are in your element, anchor them into your schedule, anchor them into your lifestyle. Make sure that you make time for them, because we're always rushing around saying we don't have time, but we do. Put down the fucking phone, stop scrolling, and go and do something creative. Go and anchor, spend time anchoring it in so it just becomes part of your lifestyle. Okay, so for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have the river otter, slide into joy. Don't they look happy? Okay, so don't you just love it? Every week these cards all meld into one another. They're all connected to one another. So we spend our week focusing on one aspect of our life. And this week it is about our creativity, for sure. Because when I think about the card that we've got that flipped out, it so corresponds to what we're talking about today. Okay, so for Thursday, they want you to slide into joy. Basically, they want you to be joyful. Spend more time being joyful than frustrated or angry or fearful. They want you to do all these things that we've been talking about at the beginning of the week. They want you to do those so that you can slide into joy. Because when we do things that bring us joy, and when we get into the habit of doing them, then you spend a lot more time in joy or in a joyful moment than you do out of it. And it's really pertinent for us that we experience joy, especially at this time in our lives when we have so much chaos, so much shit, so much fear in the world. We really, really need to concentrate on our circle of influence. And, you know, because that is the only thing we can control, is that circle of influence. Everything else is out of the box, out of our control. So we really, really need to find those things that bring us joy this week. So that when you are catching yourself doom scrolling, you go, stop. You put the phone down and you just go automatically into something that brings you joy. It's really, really easy to manifest what you want when you experience joy more than you experience frustration or fear. It is such an easy emotion to feel when you let yourself feel it. I feel like at the moment, and I've especially felt this, that there's just so much hurt and pain in the world at the moment that I feel a bit guilty for being happy, for being joyful. And as a consequence, I've produced things in my life that don't bring me joy, that bring me frustration and pain and fear. Like, for example, you know, my hair. I had a haircut and oh my God, the woman who cut my hair, it was terrible. It was like this short at the back and then really long at the front. Excuse me. Really long at the front. It looked like a reverse mullet. It was terrible. I looked so ridiculous. And the most embarrassing thing is the way she styled it, when, you know how they show you in the mirror before you leave, the way she'd styled it, it looked fine. Excuse me. Sorry. Sometimes I need to clear my throat when Spirit is talking. Yeah, and it was, so I walked around my local shopping centre thinking, oh, look at my hair, I've just had a blow dry and cut, it looks fabulous. And then when I actually got home and looked at it and went, oh my effing God, what the hell has she done to my hair? I was distraught. So what was supposed to be a really joyful experience for me, because I decided, I've had my hair really long for a long time. And where we live now, the water is really hard. So my hair is always frizzy, static, knotty, and it was driving me crazy. It never looked nice. It always looked like I needed to put a brush through it. So I just decided, okay, summer's coming. I'm cutting my hair in this concave bob. But yeah, that's not what I got. So yesterday I had to go and get another hairdresser to fix it up. And she's thankfully done a really good job, but she said it's going to take about 2 or 3 cuts to get me the cut that I actually originally wanted. Now, why was I telling you this story? Oh, that's right, because we often make things that are supposed to be joyful for us, we often project frustration and fear on them. So even when I sat down at the hairdresser's, I was fearful about letting them cut my hair because, it took me a long time to grow my hair and I loved my long hair. So I was quite fearful that they would fuck it up, which they did. But saying that, everything's turned out right. As my husband said, as I was crying down the phone to him about how ridiculous I looked, he said, it's fixable. Don't stress about it. Worst things come to worst, you can shave your head, basically. But yeah, it has been fixed. It's much better. I just have to learn now to style it properly and everything will be good. So I need you to rethink things. When you feel you're getting frustrated, when you feel like you're becoming fearful, I need you to actually step back. Become objective. Look at the situation, not through your own eyes, but through the eyes of an observer. What would I tell my friend to do? And take that advice yourself, because we never say to our friends, oh, well, you're fucked, aren't you? You look absolutely ridiculous. We might have a laugh with them, as my sisters did last night when I sent them photos of my original haircut. But like my other sister said, don't worry, it's easy to fix up. They just have to join the front and the back. It honestly looked like there were 2 people on my body. The front person had really long hair and the back person had really short hair. But then eventually they said, don't worry about it. It's going to be all right. Just, you've got it fixed now, blah, blah, blah. So that's what I'm talking about. You have to use these things that you found that bring you joy, and you have to ingrain them into your lifestyle, into your daily habits, so that you can always find it easy to slide back into a joyful, or as near as joyful as you can be, situation. Okay, did I explain that properly? I think I waffled on for a bit there, sorry. Okay, so for Friday, we've got House Mouse work together. I mean, let's face it, if you opened your pantry and you saw that, you most probably would not be joyful. You'd be freaking out. But it's a very cute picture. Okay, so we slide into joy easier when we are working together, when we're working with others. So for all of you with kids, get your kids involved, and be willing to try. Maybe one week the family does what brings you joy, if that's possible. The next week you do what, mum or dad, your partner does, and then you pick a child and they do. So that you all get a chance at doing something that's joyful, in particular for one member of the family, but you all get to experience it. Some really fun memory-making times can be had just by doing little exercises like that, and it's really bonding for your family. It makes you feel more together. And also, as a parent, it makes you see what makes your kid tick. especially when they're getting up into their tweens, you know, before they become teenagers, but they're, you know, sometimes as they start to pull back, which is natural, that's what they're supposed to do as they discover themselves. But sometimes you sort of lose that connection with them. You lose that ability to know what makes them tick because they start to be a little bit more secretive. And so these type of exercises or these type of games, if that's what you want to call them, they help you see what makes your kids tick. Now, for your little ones, you know, toddlers and upwards, it's really easy to know what makes them tick because that's all they want to do all the time. When my niece is here, all she wants to do is draw. Just wants to draw, or we have a little toy cash register. She just wants to play cash registers. So that's all she wants to do. It brings her absolute joy. She thinks it's so much fun. So it's really easy with those kids to work out what brings them joy. But for your older kids, it's often harder to know about that. So this is a really good family exercise that you can all do together. Now also, before I move on, they're also talking about, they're talking about, and I feel like maybe this flip card is actually coming into play now because the flip card was self-heal, which is a herb, and it's called rippled outward. So they're really telling me when we work together, the consequences of that action will ripple outwards. So out from your circle of influence into the community around you. So, for example, you're down at the school waiting to pick up your kids and you're talking to other mothers and you say, oh, we've just started this thing where we do this. And the kids love it. They love it when it comes to their week. And we've actually started a little, you know, chart on the fridge that where we get to put what we want to do next when it's our next turn, that type of thing. And then one of the mothers thinks, oh, that's a great way to bring my family together and get rid of technology, you know. So she thinks, I'm going to go and do that. And then she tells another mother and another mother does that. And then all of a sudden you find there is a small community of people doing that and bringing joy. And do you know that joy spreads exponentially? So not just through that exercise, but through the way you deal with other people during your day, the way you deal with each other, the way you deal with yourself. It just spreads exponentially. So we really, really need to work together to bring that element of joy back into your life, into your lifestyle, into your habits, and then tell people about it. Tell people about your experiences so that it ripples outward into your community around you. Okay. So for Saturday, we've got Precious Opal, one of my favorite stones. I love opal. And it's called Envision Your Future or Envision the Future. Oh, I've got the most beautiful opal ring that my mum had, and I've taken it when she passed away. It's just the most gorgeous ring. I'm hoping one day I'll be thin enough to actually wear it. It's absolutely beautiful. I love it. And I always remember as a child her wearing it. Yeah, so it's got very special meaning to me, and opals have very special meaning to me as well. So for Saturday, they're talking about envisioning the future. So this is just moving on more. Once we start to bring that creativeness, that joy into our life, once we start to share it outwards, we start to see what type of future we could create for our communities, for our families, for ourselves. Now, I know everybody that watches this video doesn't have a family or is, you know, single and things like that, but there must be a family, or surely you must have a family that even though they may not be family through blood, they could be family that you've chosen. So when I say family, I'm talking about anybody that you share a close relationship with. When we do all this, we can start to see what type of future we could have. This is the future that we're moving towards. We have no choice, okay? It's happening whether we like it or not. So if you want to stay kicking and screaming in this shithole, go ahead, do that. The universe will deal with you in whatever way is suitable. But if you want to live in a future that is kinder, gentler, more loving, more balanced, then do the work. I've said this to you before, when we kept getting the same cards over and over again, you need to do the work, guys. Not just me. I can't do it for everybody. All the healers and the energetic workers and, counselors and all that sort of stuff, they cannot do it for you. You still have to do the work. They are only a tool that you use to help you on your way. We are responsible for our own healing. So, on Saturday, after spending the week doing this type of thing, you should be able to start seeing a future for yourself, for your family, for your community that is much brighter. When I look at an opal, you often look at an opal and they come in the most gorgeous colors, but often you'll look at them like from above and they look different. And then when you move them to the side, they sort of have that ability to change color. They're just the most spectacular gemstones I've ever seen. And so this card is really talking about, look at what you're doing from all aspects. Don't just look at it from above, just look at it from every aspect. Look at it from the perspective of what your kids are going through or other members of your family are going through. Speak to your partner if you've got one or a close friend about the changes that you feel are being made within you because of the work that you're doing. So Saturday is really about envisioning how far you could go with this this way of living and what it could do for you in the future, basically. Okay, so on Sunday we have smoky quartz fall apart. Okay, so smoky quartz, I actually nearly had put my smoky quartz ring on this morning before I started filming. So there's a lot to work through this week. And your energy is going to be quite high. If you're doing it right, your energy is going to be quite high. This work this week is not meant to frustrate you or give you grief. It's meant to raise you up. It's meant to raise your vibration. It's meant to give you joy. So don't take it too seriously, okay? We take life too seriously, and I know can be come across as a bit flippant for people who are really struggling, and I don't mean it that way. But sometimes if we just look at things from a lighter perspective, we actually find or are given creative ways that we can deal with them, rather than being bogged down in that pain. But this week you've had quite high vibration. If you're doing the work, if you're doing what is being suggested to you, then by Sunday you're going to be feeling pretty strung out. Now, I don't mean stressed. I just mean if you're having periods of high vibration, you still have to have there has to be periods of low vibration or rest and recuperation. And this Sunday they're saying it's quite all right to just go, okay, no games today, no creativeness, no nothing. I'm just resting and rejuvenating. That it's quite all right to take a day off to process what you've been through this week. And for some of us, that might be quite traumatic in that, oh my God, I've just followed the advice for this week's reading, and I've just realized how crappy my life has been and how little increments of joy slid into my schedule every day can bring me exponential happiness, can raise my vibration and make me feel hopeful for a better future. So it's okay to do that. I know you're going to hate it, but they are saying it'd be a really good day to journal about your experiences for the week. And really, that is an excellent suggestion. Thank you. That we should do every week, every Sunday. Journal about your experiences for your week. If you're not someone who journals on a daily or, bi-daily habit, use Sunday to just journal and talk about what has come up for you. What epiphanies have you had? What things have you learned about yourself or about others, and how you want to go forward. And remember to really, really ground. Smoky quartz is a really grounding crystal. So they're saying don't forget to get out in nature. Just experience some groundedness. So, do your grounding exercises. If you go to my YouTube channel, if you're not already there, go there. I've got a visualization. I got a visualization to ground, protect, and cleanse you, I think it is. I can't quite remember what the name of it is. I'll try and remember to put it up here, a link to it. And just get some grounding in so that you've got that really leveledness within you, so that you can, rather than being airy-fairy, you can actually ground some of your learnings into your body, into your energetic body, so that it stays there. Does that make sense? Okay, so so we've definitely had this card before. The overall theme for this week is Sujilite, feel in order to know. Okay, so you might be wondering, how does that pertain to what we've just discussed in the reading? A lot of creative stuff that we do is about feeling. So yes, there is a technical and skillful element to it sometimes, but most of the time you'll find that really creative people, once they've learned the skill and the technique, they go by feel. Now, I know that when I was a knitwear designer, and I used to design a lot of I did mostly sock patterns, but when I was designing sock patterns and I'd be thinking about what pattern to put together, there was even though I had to have the skill to know what patterns to do, like lace work and cable and things like that, it got to a time where I just felt like this click. There's this feeling that okay, these patterns are going to work together. These stitch patterns are going to work together to make this pattern. You just knew it, so you just went with it. And I feel like this week it's all about feeling. It's all about getting into that groove, getting into that vibration that raises you to a happier, more joyful state. If you remember, it might have been last week or the week before, we discussed about the ladder of emotions by Abraham Hicks, and how you can't just jump from despair and fear up into love and joy, which they're at either end of the ladder, that you sort of have to do it up in increments. So wherever you are on that ladder, this week you're supposed to help yourself go further up the ladder towards joy. So feel in order to know. And we can just sit here and feel, I feel happy. But usually I find, especially if you find it very hard to just change your emotion like that, and a lot of us do because we're very much grounded in the mundane, one way to raise our vibration, one way to help us move up that emotional ladder is to feel the joy of being creative, to feel the joy of spending time with the people that we love, to feel the joy of envisioning a better future for ourselves and our communities. So that is it. Not getting anything else. So that is it for this week. I have really run over. This is running into 35 minutes. So thank you very much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this. If you like what you see here, I would love it if you could either like my Facebook page or my YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, or share so that the YouTube algorithms will spread the word for me. I would really appreciate that. If you have any questions or comments or opinions or feedback, please don't hesitate to put them in the comment section, and I will definitely read them and get back to you if I need to. Thanks for being here today. I hope you have a good week, and I hope you're having a good September, no matter how intense it is for you. And I will see you in the next video.